Simple question that's come up at your forums, and I think we ought to talk about it again now, though. In light of recession led by the falling home values, slowing sales tax, and other revenues, how are you going to create jobs in your district?
Well, the fact of the matter is jobs will be created in this district when there's a bounce in the economy, which we fully anticipate. The big question is when. But the framework that I've always operated within has been public-private partnerships. That's how I worked very effectively when I was a member of the Los Angeles City Council, and we did very well in terms of job creation. And I think the proper orientation to hard work and creating opportunities for jobs will make a difference. An example is the $210 million law that was enacted pursuant to my authorship that will create jobs that are transit related is just one illustration of what can be done. Now that was done just in this last term before I resigned. And so there are many opportunities. We have to seize them and work very hard to make them happen. But I am very optimistic about the prospects of for job creation in this county. It
must be very difficult, though, especially in your district, which is the most diverse and also the most densely populated. Is that correct?
Well, it's one of the most densely populated. Parts of it is at least.
And so if you're going to get hit by a recession, it's going to get hit there as well with so many people saying, where do we work, how do we do this? When you say transit related, what do you mean by that kind of jobs?
Well, the specific piece of legislation designed to afford traffic congestion relief on the 110 freeway and the 10 freeway. It's also designed to improve air quality, and thirdly, then economic development along the corridor of the Harbor Freeway. And so that's the specific thing I had reference to in terms of public-private partnership. $210 million goes a long way in terms of creating jobs and doing good for communities.
Usually you have to provide some kind of incentives, though, if you want to attract business to a community. What incentives can you pitch for your district that might attract businesses?
A hard-working supervisor who understands how to get it done, a bottom-line orientation, working with the county's commission that is principally responsible for economic development, and creating a climate in this particular district where business knows that business can be done. And that's a significant way as to how it is accomplished. It is essentially why I had as much success as I did when I was on the city council, and I'm anxious to replicate much of that and innovate in areas that make sense. One of the areas happens to be in green technology. We're going to push an agenda of green jobs. There's a center in southeast Los Angeles, area called Lancet, some 10 acres, zone for light industrial use. I'm going to engage rather quickly in conversations about how we do what is environmentally responsible and responsive, create jobs for the future. That's how you do it, and you'll see an abundance of evidence of that.
I want to talk politics for a little while here. It's going to be a special election to fill your state Senate vacancy. 2 assemblymen are currently interested: Curran Price, Mike Davis. Another potential mention, Culver City School Board member Sandra Davis. Councilman Wesson, who is not running, says that this is going to be a sprint because it's going to be a very quick election. Have you thought about, or are you going to make any endorsement for your successor?
I will indeed make an endorsement, and in the process of sorting through that right now. But I think it is correct that this is going to be an opportunity for someone who is seasoned, someone who's committed, someone who has demonstrated the ability to be an effective legislator, and that's who I'll support.
Do you like what you see in the field so far, generally speaking?
There are persons worthy of consideration, and there's one person worthy of support.
You want to say who that is?
Not at this moment, but in very few days, soon after I'm sworn in tomorrow, we'll move on with the task of endorsing and working very hard to get that person elected.
Back to your own campaign. A new analysis and summary of the 2nd District election results issued through your campaign staff concludes that you won by targeting voters who didn't vote in the primary, and those voters wanted change, it said. now, not the status quo of your opponent. But nowhere in that summary does it also make mention of the independent expenditure of $8.5 million that was made on your behalf, independent of your campaign, but by labor on your behalf. Certainly you need to acknowledge that that had a great help to you as far as the advertising dollars it was able to generate and all the other goodwill it was able to engender.
Yes, but the analysis doesn't make reference to any of the financial contributors. It doesn't make reference to the amount of money I raised in my campaign. It doesn't make reference to anything. It's talking about the results unrelated to support as such. And so I think it's perfectly legitimate to talk about how we did what we did and the way in which we went about that task. And this is specifically pursuant to the polling that my campaign did. We set up a particular strategy, and we executed with a high degree of effectiveness.
But let's talk about that independent expenditure.
Okay, I'm glad
it helped?
to. Absolutely.
Next to the governor, no race is raised as much funding.
Well, they were motivated in a significant way, and frankly, I thank them for the support that they have evidenced. Everyone abided by the law, which is very important, and to the extent that they did so, we have much to celebrate.
There is some legal challenge to independent expenditures before the courts. Do you think ultimately they might be done away with, or do you think this is the way the system should work?
I don't know that they will be done away with. There have been
if the court ruled in that fashion and said independent expenditures are not a good election tool.
Well, they have gone around that discussion many times, and as long as there is an appropriate level of accountability, transparency, call it sunshine, I think then that the voting public should have a reasonable level of confidence about what is going on. The issue of controlling how much money moves through the electoral process has been debated practically ad nauseum. The courts go directly to First Amendment rights. And to the extent that that is the case, I don't know how that changes. I simply know how to get elected, and more importantly, I know how to serve people, and which is essentially what inspires me to run for public office in the manner in which I have.
But final question on this, does that make you, though, want to serve one group of people more, that being labor, because they put so much into your campaign?
It's not possible to serve one group of people, given the complexity and the diversity of the district that I represent. There is no denying the fact that there is a significant number of labor households in the 2nd Supervisorial District, so they would appropriately be represented. But you'll find, as a matter of public record, that I deal across the board on a range of issues in public life, and there's a 17-year history to examine to provide an abundance of evidence.
In our final minutes, to talk about the half-cent sales tax that will be instituted, where did you stand on it as far as how it impacts people's spending, as opposed to really what it's going to get us?
Well, I voted for it as a member of the state Senate to get it to the ballot, and I voted for it as a voter here in the county of Los Angeles, and I simply believe that this is a moment in time where we have to face up to our substantial infrastructure challenges, transportation being a very significant one. There are a few ways for us to raise this kind of money to fund public transportation, to deal with those issues, and to the extent that the people have spoken, I'm certainly supportive.
And though it's not going to come all at once.
No, it won't.
And it's not the only solution, is it?
It is not.
And the only funding source.
No, but it is $40 billion approximately over the next several years, some 30 or so years as I recall. So to the extent that that is the case, this is a good thing. And I just simply hope that there's a commensurate capacity to invest in the human infrastructure of our county, as there has been in the physical infrastructure.
Finally, do you worry that sales might go elsewhere?
No, I do not. There is something about the County of Los Angeles that is powerfully attractive to people, and we have a lot of endowments and assets that they will choose to support for years to come.
Supervisor-elect Mark Ridley-Thomas, thanks for joining us today. Come back and see us.
My honor. Thank you.
you.